The bedwetter. Once upon a time, in the city of Arizoria, there lived a woman named Lomina. If success had a face, it would be hers. She was rich, powerful, and admired by all. Lomina had it all: beauty, intelligence, and wealth. She was one of the most respected women in the country, a PhD holder in chemistry, and the CEO of Tagol Energy Limited, a leading petrochemical company that controlled multi-million-dollar projects. She had graduated with first-class honors from Westbridge University, a school so prestigious that only the brightest minds could survive its brutal academic challenges. But Lomina didn't just survive, she conquered it. She had traveled the world, dined with influential leaders, and signed business deals that many only dreamed of. Her mansion was a palace of luxury, a 3-bedroom masterpiece with floors so polished they reflected like mirrors, and the chandeliers that shimmered like 1,000 diamonds. Her cars were symbols of power: a sleek black Venza, a luxurious SUV, and a sports car for special occasions. On the outside, Lomina was untouchable. She was a true queen, but beneath the perfection was a secret so shameful. It haunted her every single night. A secret she had carried since childhood. A secret that made her life feel like a cruel joke. A secret that no money could erase. At 38 years old, Lomina still wet the bed. It didn't matter if she set alarms at night to wake up. It didn't matter if she stopped drinking water before bed. It still happened. Every morning she would wake up, her sheets are damp, her heart pounding with shame. How could someone so powerful be so helpless against something like this? How could the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company wake up like a child who couldn't control her own body? She had tried hiding it, but the smell of urine clung to her sheets like a ghost that refused to leave. She changed her bed sheets every morning, sprayed expensive perfumes, used air fresheners, but deep inside she knew she was running from the truth. She never talked about it, not to her friends, not to her employees, not even to herself. It was a secret buried deep into her soul. But secrets have a way of ruining even the strongest people. And Lomina was about to find out just how much damage one secret could cause. Lomina's secret was her prison. And because of this, love had never lasted in her life. She had been in many relationships, but none ever survived. The moment a man discovered her secrets, everything changed. There was a time when she thought she had found love. His name was Demo, a wealthy businessman, charming and intelligent. He showered her with love, made her laugh, and even talked about marriage. For the first time, Lomina thought her life would finally be complete. But then he found out. One night, after a romantic dinner, Demo stayed over. Lomina did everything to prevent the worst. She stayed awake for hours, forcing herself not to sleep. But at some point, sleep won the battle. And in the morning, her nightmare became real. Demo woke up to a wet bed. Lomina had never felt such terror in her life. She tried to exclaim, her voice shaking. But Demo's face twisted in disgust. "A whole CEO like you?" he scoffed, shaking his head in disbelief. "You are nothing but a grown child." Lomina felt her soul shatter. That morning, Demon walked out of her life. But his betrayer didn't stop there. Within days, rumors spread like wildfire. Demon had told his close friends, who told others, and soon people whispered behind her back. She could see the pity in their eyes, the hidden laughter, the way people talked in hushed voices whenever she walked past. Her secret was no longer just hers. It was a public joke. After Demo, Lomina became more careful. Then she met Ezekiel. He was different, gentle, patient, and full of sweet words. He didn't rush her. He waited for her to trust him. For months, Lomina was happy again. Then, one night, she gathered the courage to tell him her secret herself. She expected shock, maybe a little discomfort. But Ezekiel held her hands and smiled. "It doesn't change how I feel about you," he said. "I love you, Lomina." For the first time, she felt hope. Maybe, just maybe, she had finally found someone who wouldn't run. But she was wrong. Ezekiel's love was a lie. He was already in a relationship with another woman. He had stayed only for her money. And when he finally got what he wanted, he mocked her to the woman he truly loved. "She thinks I love her," he laughed. "I only stayed because she is rich." But do you know the best part? The mighty Lomina still wet the bed. Lomina felt her world collapsed. She had been used, betrayed, humiliated again. She locked herself in her mansion, refusing to see anyone. For weeks, she barely ate, she barely slept, she barely felt alive. Then one night, she couldn't take it anymore. She needed an escape. She needed to forget. So, she went to a bar. Lomina's world was spinning. Her head felt heavy, her body weak, and her heart shattered. The bar was loud. People laughed. Glasses clinked. Music played. But she felt alone in the middle of it all. She didn't care anymore. She gulped down another glass of wine, trying to silence the voices in her head. The voices that told her she would always be alone, that no man would ever love her, that no matter how rich she was, she would always be a bedwetter. Somewhere in the same bar, a young businessman named Nava had just finished his meeting. At only 30 years old, he was already a respected entrepreneur in Arizona. As he walked past the bar to leave, his eyes caught something unusual. A woman sitting alone, drinking like she wanted to disappear. Something about her made him pause. He had seen broken people before, but this woman, she was drowning in her pain. Curious, he approached her. "Are you okay?" he asked. Lomina looked up at him, her vision blurry. She wanted to speak, but her tongue felt heavy. Nava sighed. She was too drunk. As she swayed in her seat, he knew one thing: she couldn't be left alone like this. "Where do you live?" he asked. But she was already falling asleep at the table. Nava had a choice: leave her there and walk away, or help a woman who looked like she had lost all hope. With a deep breath, he made his decision. He lifted her gently, helped her into his car, and drove her to his home. He didn't know her story. He didn't even know her name. But something inside whispered, "This woman needs saving." The first thing Lomina noticed when she woke up was that she wasn't in her own bed. Panic shot through her veins. She sat up quickly, her head pounding from the alcohol. Where was she? Her eyes darted around the room, a neatly arranged guest room. Nothing looked familiar. And then she looked down. Her heart stopped. The bedsheet was wet. Her body turned cold. Not here. Not on a stranger's bed. Tears welled up in her eyes. What had she done? She had already lost her dignity in the past, and now she had lost it again. Just then, there was a soft knock on the door. Before she could even wipe her tears, the door opened. A tall, handsome man stepped inside. Nava. Lomina froze. Her shame was now standing right in front of her. Nava sat on a chair beside her and gave a calm smile. "How are you feeling?" Lomina's throat was dry. She wanted to run. She wanted the ground to swallow her whole. Her voice broke. How could she explain? How could she tell him that she had ruined his bed? But Nava's eyes softened. He had already seen it, and yet he wasn't disgusted. "I understand," he said gently. Lomina stared at him in shock. "Understand?" No one had ever said that before. "It's not your fault," he continued. "Sometimes, things like this are health related. Have you ever gone for a test?" Lomina quickly shook her head. "No," she whispered, because the truth was, she had been too ashamed to seek help. Nava sighed. "Then maybe it's time you did." For the first time in years, Lomina felt something strange. Not shame, not fear, hope. The next few weeks were a blur for Lomina. Her mind had never been so full. Her body had never felt so strange. And yet, for the first time, she had hope. Nava was always there, supporting her with kindness and understanding, never pushing her to rush or to be ashamed of her condition. At first, Lomina couldn't believe it. No one had ever treated her like this before. Her past relationships had been filled with judgment and rejection. She had always been told it was her fault, that she was unworthy. But Nava was different. He didn't care about her wealth. He didn't care about her title. He cared about her. And that was something Lomina had never experienced before. Weeks passed, and they went together to the best hospital in Arizona, where Lomina was tested. The results were clear. She had a medical condition that made her bedwet. It wasn't her fault. It wasn't because she was weak. It wasn't because she was broken. It was a condition, and it could be treated. For the first time, Lomina felt a wave of relief wash over her. Maybe, just maybe, things were going to be okay. As the days went by, Lomina's heart began to change. She didn't just admire Nava for his patience and care. She began to fall in love with him. And soon, Nava's feelings for her deepened. He saw her not for her wealth or her position, but for who she truly was. A woman who has suffered silently for so long. A woman who had learned to hide her pain behind words of strength. He respected her. He admired her. And most importantly, he loved her. One evening, after another successful treatment section, Nava took Lomina to a quiet spot by the river, where they could watch the sunset together. Lomina had no idea what was coming. As the sky turned green and pink, Nava turned to her, his eyes full of emotion. "Lomina," he began, his voice soft. "You have been through so much. You have been strong. You have been brave. And I admire you for that." Lomina's heart raced. She wanted to speak, but the words couldn't come. Nava continued. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me? Lomina's eyes widened. Was this real? Was this man really asking her to be his forever? She looked into his eyes, searching for the truth, and found nothing but love and sincerity. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I will marry you." The days that followed were filled with joy and laughter. Nava and Lomina's wedding was the talk of Arizoria, not because of their wealth or their status, but because of the love they shared. It wasn't a fairy tale, it wasn't perfect, but it was real, and it was theirs. Lomina had found healing, acceptance, and true love. She had found someone who saw beyond her condition, beyond her bedwetting, and loved her for who she was. Her life had changed, and for the first time in years, she didn't have to hide. She could breathe, laugh, and love freely. And she knew that her journey wasn't just about overcoming shame, but about embracing who she truly was, a woman deserving of happiness, love, and the future she had always dreamed of. Lomina's journey of healing, hope, and love has taught us all that we are more than our mistakes, more than our past, and more than our fears. Will Lomina's story inspire you to embrace your own challenges? Remember, true love doesn't care about the past. It only cares about the present and the future.